Right now, if you're staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning, you have options. You can reach for a glass of water. You can flip your pillow to the cool side. Or you can unlock a glowing rectangle of glass and scroll through the collective thoughts of 8 billion people until your eyes burn. Now strip all of that away. Subtract the memory foam mattress. Subtract the white noise app. Subtract the deadbolt on your front door, the temperature-controlled air, and the light switch. You are huddled on a dirt floor in Pleistocene Europe, 30,000 years ago. The fire is dying. It is freezing, pitch black, and something in the tall grass outside is chewing on bone. And you can't sleep. So, what do? How did ancient humans survive the terrifying, vulnerable nightmare of insomnia when remaining conscious meant suffering, but drifting off might mean being eaten alive? The honest answer isn't just a story about ancient coping mechanisms. It's the story of how a bizarre, forgotten sleep habit accidentally built the human mind, and why your middle-of-the-night anxiety is just a ghost in your brain telling you to stay awake. We tend to look back at our ancestors with a kind of romantic nostalgia. We assume that before artificial light, screen time, and microplastics ruined our circadian rhythms, ancient humans slept like logs. 8 solid hours of blissful, undisturbed, prehistoric slumber under a canopy of stars. It's a comforting idea. It's also complete fantasy. To evolution, sleep is an absolute catastrophe. Think about it from a purely biological standpoint. When you fall into deep sleep, your body paralyzes its own muscles. Your sensory awareness drops through the floor. You stop hunting, you stop gathering, you stop reproducing, and you stop guarding your children. For 8 hours a day, you become a motionless, helpless slab of meat. If nature was purely about efficiency, sleep would have been patched out of the human OS millions of years ago. Yet every single creature on Earth does it. So the problem wasn't avoiding sleep, it was surviving it. And for early hominids, insomnia wasn't a medical glitch, it was an alarm bell. And this is where the story gets weird. For decades, sleep researchers puzzled over a biological paradox. If early humans needed sleep to stay alive, how did they avoid being wiped out while they did it? The obvious answer, of course, is that they slept in shifts. One person stays awake with a spear while everyone else snoozes, right? Except hunter-gatherer bands weren't organized like modern military units with shift schedules and watches. They didn't have alarm clocks or wristwatches to call the next guard shift. So how did an entire tribe manage to keep a continuous guard active for thousands of consecutive nights without anyone directing traffic? The answer lay hidden in our DNA, and it meant that when an ancient human couldn't sleep at 2 a.m., they were doing exactly what evolution designed them to do. In 2017, a team of evolutionary anthropologists tracked the Hadza people of Tanzania, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer societies on Earth. They attached activity monitors to 33 individuals to study their natural sleep cycles in an environment virtually identical to the one our ancestors lived in for hundreds of thousands of years. What they found shattered the myth of the 8-hour sleep cycle. Over 220 hours of observation, the researchers found something astounding. There were only 18 total minutes where the entire tribe was asleep at the same time. For 99.8% of the night, at least one person was wide awake, pacing, tending the fire, or staring into the dark. They didn't need a shift schedule. They had chronotypes. Evolution deliberately varied our internal clocks across generations. The teenagers and young adults were naturally hardwired to stay up until 3 o'clock or 4 a.m. The grandmothers and grandfathers naturally woke up at 3 or 4 a.m. Insomnia wasn't a bug. It was a feature. But what happened when you were the one awake in the dead of night? You couldn't read. You couldn't turn on a lamp. Moving around in the dark outside the firelight was suicide. This was where human ingenuity turned a biological nightmare into a tactical advantage. If you couldn't sleep in the Pleistocene, you worked. Archaeological sites across southern Africa and Europe reveal that an extraordinary amount of stone tool production, knapping obsidian, shaping bone needles, scraping hides, took place immediately around hearth fires. When sleep wouldn't come, Ancient humans sat in the embers' glow and sharpened the edges of their survival. They prepared weapons, they mended clothes, they processed plant remedies. And when they weren't working with their hands, they used something far more powerful: biphasic sleep. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, humans rarely slept in one continuous block. Instead, they practiced first sleep for about 4 hours around dusk, woke up for 2 hours in the middle of the night, and then went back for second sleep. During those 2 midnight hours of awakeness, a period the French called la dorvée, ancient humans didn't panic. They talked. They prayed. They shared dreams. They made love. It was the only time in a brutal, exhausting world where there were no chores, no hunting, and no predators actively tracking them, because the fire was bright and the tribe was awake. This forced nocturnal awakeness did something miraculous to the human brain. When you sit in absolute darkness with only a flickering flame, your brain chemistry shifts. Cortisol levels drop, prolactin rises, and the prefrontal cortex, the logical, analytical part of your brain, powers down. In this semi-trance state, ancient humans didn't just pass the time. They created culture. The midnight hours became the birthplace of mythology and storytelling. Around those quiet embers when the rest of the world was dead and cold, elders passed down oral histories to the restless insomniacs sitting beside them. They looked up at the unpolluted night sky and connected the dots, turning chaotic clusters of stars into gods, monsters, and navigation maps. Location was architecture. The dark was the walls. The fire was the roof. And inside that tiny lit room, human language expanded. We didn't just develop words for food or danger. We developed words for abstract dread, for memory, for hope, and for what happens to our spirits when our bodies lie still. Insomnia forced us to invent the human mind. Which brings us back to you, sitting in the dark at 3 a.m., looking at your phone. When you wake up in the middle of the night with your heart racing, worrying about an unread email or a pay stub, you aren't broken. You are feeling the biological echo of an ancient defense mechanism. Your brain thinks you're the sentry. It thinks it's your turn on the night watch. It is pumping adrenaline into your bloodstream because, for 300,000 years, being awake at 3 a.m. meant something was wrong, or that your band depended on you to keep the embers alive. We built a world of concrete, glass, and artificial suns to banish the dark. We conquered the predators. We automated the warmth. Yet inside our skulls, we still carry the brain of a hunter, staring out into the African savanna, waiting for dawn. The next time you can't sleep, don't fight it. Turn off the glowing rectangle. Listen to the silence. And remember, you come from an unbroken line of night watchers who kept the fire burning so the rest of us could wake up.